Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to handle programming part of Computer Science IGCSE October-November 2023 paper 2-1. I have been doing a series on the programming part of IGCSE paper 2. I've done quite a number of them, so I think you should check my YouTube channel so you can get other videos I've done. So I basically do these videos for students who are out there who are preparing for exams, but particularly my students here, so they get to use it as a way to practice at their pace even when I'm not there. So I hope this video helps. Now let's go straight to the question. All right, so the question says drama students put on a performance of a play for one evening. Seats in a small theater can be booked for this performance. The theater has 10 rows, so we need to take note of this. Okay, let me highlight it. 10 rows of 20 seats. Now, the status of the seat bookings for the evening is held in the two-dimensional array evening. Okay, again, like I like to point out, it is important for you to have a mental picture of the problem you're trying to solve. Once you have a mental picture, the logic becomes easy. Now you just have to think about the syntax. Okay, so logic first, syntax later. Let me show you something. So this is the idea that they are trying to portray here. So you have the array evening, then you have sets of seats. There's a 10 rows. 10 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 10 rows of 20 seats. So this is the idea. So this is the arrangement of the seat in the theater. And each element contains false if the seat is available and true if the seat is booked. So you have this, okay? So I just use TT there to represent true. So you can do F for false as well. So let's assume that only the first 5 seats has been booked. What you're going to see is that every other seat will be false. So that's the idea. Are we together? Okay, every other seat will be false. So we will try to use this kind of arrangement to think about solving the problem. Okay, let's move on. So up to and including 4 seats can be booked at one time. That simply means that you are at liberty to book between 1 to 4 seats. You cannot book beyond those, between 1 to 4 seats. That's 1 to 4 inclusive. Okay, so this is where the validation needs to take place. 4 seats. So let me highlight this as well. At any one time. Now, seats are allocated in order. So let me also highlight the evening. Sorry. Seats are allocated in order from those available. So let's say for instance, these ones are not available, and then but all the others are. So it means that you begin to allocate from here, from the first available seat to maximum of 4 depending on the user's input. Yeah, okay. A row or seat number cannot be requested. So you cannot say I want row this, seat that. You can't select a seat. So they are assigned accordingly. Let me show you. So you cannot say I want this seat, I want that seat. No, it must be assigned accordingly. Yeah, from the available seats. The array evening has already been set up and some data stored. So it has already been set up and some data stored. Like you have something like this already in it. Sorry. Okay. Now the question says, do all of this. Okay, so I'm going to skip this part because that's where I will solve the problem from. So let me jump here. You must use pseudocode program or program code, and this is very important, add comments to explain how your code works. You do not need to declare any arrays or variables. You may assume that this has already been done. Okay, you do not need to initialize the data in array evening. All right, all input and output must contain suitable messages. Now, this is very important as well. Okay, so like I usually tell my students, it is easy to have a lot of the marks in this question by doing the minimum. Trust me, if you follow some of these instructions already given, I am going to copy this. It is going to serve as my comments as usual. So here I'm still using my Python. You can use any IDE or any programming language between Java, Visual Basic, or Python. So anyone. Okay, so I'm going to comment this out and we move. So there are a few things we need to do first, considering that we intend to run our program. Remember, in the exams, you're not going to run this program because you're writing it on paper. Yeah. But for us, we will have to run it. So that's why we need to do some declaration to set up the array. Okay, let us set up the array first of all. So the array name is evening. Yeah. And then it is a 2D array. We are first of all going to assume that they are not booked. So this will serve as the column. Okay. 20, and then we will use a loop in range 10. So this will serve, let me take this out. Okay, good. So this will serve as the number of rows. Okay, so when we do this, let me show you guys what I mean. If we print evening, this is what we're going to get. This is exactly what we're going to get, like I showed you in Microsoft Excel. Yeah. So when you do this, this is what you're going to get. Okay. Along the column you have 20, along the row you have 10. Okay, just like this spreadsheet here. Okay, so haven't done that. We don't need this, so we need to take it out. I want us to start off like this so that it will be easy for us to play around and test to see if it actually works. So we will set this up to true and leave the rest at false. Okay, so we will do that using a loop. So we'll just set up the first 5 tables of the first row. Okay, columns in range. So like I said, we're setting up 5 seats only, so we will set them up to true. So the first row, now remember Python begins its array from 0. Okay, but if you're using pseudocode, array element starts from 1. So let's set this up to true. So when we do this and execute again, this is what we'll have. So this looks like the table I just showed you. Okay, all right, so this will allow us the freedom to do some testing to see how this program actually runs. All right, so let's start the program fully. So it says count and outputs the number of seats already booked. So let's say we have a variable called book seat count. Let's start it off from 0. So we need to loop across all of them, searching for the booked ones. Yeah, so let's say for row in range, so here we're starting off with the number of rows, which is 10, and then for column in range, that will be what? 20. Good. Oh, sorry, That should be a colon, not a semicolon. Okay. So if evening, if the evening of that row and of that column is true, so there's no point doing equals true because it shows you true or false, right? If that is the case, then booked seat should be increased by 1. So that way we have counted the number of seats that are booked. And it says output the number of seats already booked for the evening. So we can come down here and do a print statement and say number of booked seats that will be booked seat count. So let us run this to confirm if our program is working. All right, so looks like it's working. That's 1 2 3 4 5. Yeah, so it is working. All right, so we've done that part. Let's move to the next part. It says allows the user to impute the number of seats required. Okay, so remember the condition. It is between 1 and 4. Okay, between 1 and 4. So let's create a variable, call it seat required. That's a terrible spelling. Seat required. So let's ask the user for the seat, and of course it is an integer. Yeah, you cannot request for half seats, can you? Seat required. So we are going to ask the user, I don't think we need this. So we're going to ask the user how many seats do you need? We need to give useful prompts. Okay, select between 1 to 4. Select between 1 to 4. So this will inform the user the range he should pick from. Okay, so after doing that, we need to validate. So while seat required, so while the seat required is less than 1, that means the user has gone beyond or outside of the acceptable range, or seat required is greater than 4, that means again the user has gone outside of the acceptable range. So what do we need to do in this case? We need to keep the user trapped until the user complies with our requirement. So we can just copy this and then colon and paste. But this time around, the message needs to be different. Invalid entry. Select between 1 to 4. All right. So this will be enough for the validation. Do we need to test this? Okay. Let's try and see. Let's say we use 5. You see, we use 0. You see, we use -3. You're still there. But when you use anything within the range, the program proceeds. Okay, let's move on. All right, so the next part is to check if enough seats are available. Check if enough seats are available. So the logic I want to use here is I want to use seats available as a variable to tell me if we have seats available or not. Okay, so after that, I want to actually have a count of the available seats. Okay, so let me do number available. The number of available seats would be the maximum number of seats minus the already booked seats. Do you understand? That is 200 minus the already booked seat count. So with that, I can actually tell if there's enough space. You understand? Good. So the next thing, I'll say if number available is greater than or equal to seats required. So that means we have enough seats. Then I can say seat available equals true. So that way I have checked if we have enough seats. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. If they are available, changes the status of the seats. Okay, so if they are available, you need to assign the seats, and then you need to output the roll number and seat number for each seat booked. If they are not, okay, so let's begin here. So we already at this stage know if there is enough seat or not. Yeah, so if seat available, so that means if this is true, that means we have seats available. So let's do for row in range. How many here? 10. For column in range, how many here? 20. Okay, so the next thing will be to check, because I want a situation where we will be decreasing this number. Each time we assign one seat, we decrease it by 1. We assign another seat, we decrease by 1 until it becomes 0. Do you understand? So the idea is this. We'll say if seats required equals 0, then this loop should break. It should stop assigning, equal to 0. So this loop should break. So at any point where we have exhausted the number of assignments, the loop ends. Yeah, good. So let's proceed. If not evening, so we're checking if the seat shows false, then it will automatically turn this condition to true. That means we can go ahead to assign. Okay, so row, column. So if this is the case, that means we can go ahead to assign. It simply means we should assign that seat because that seat is available. Get it? Good. And once we assign the seat, we should go ahead to decrease seats required by 1. And remember, the question here says, so we have changed the status. We've checked if it's available. We have changed the status. Then the next thing will be to output the row and seat number. Okay, so we can do that here. We'll say print Sit at row. So let me do row plus 1, considering that Python begins its array count from 0, so that the user will still see 1. Okay. Column is booked. So let's do that. Is booked. So by doing this, it will display the seats that are booked. Okay, I think at this point we can test to see if that works. Okay, so this is where we are now. These are the seats that we have already booked by default. So let's say we want to book 3 more seats. Let's see what happens. 3 more seats. Let's run. Okay, so booking 3 more seats means seat row 1 column 5 is booked. Okay, so do you understand now? Oh, there's something we didn't do here. We didn't do plus 1 as well. Yeah, plus 1 as well. Okay, maybe we should equally print the entire array, so that you get to see the way it actually looks now. So let's try it again. So let's say we want to book 3 again. I'll press enter. So you know, we by default booked seat 1 along the row 1. We booked the first 5 seats, so that's why it started from 6 and booked up to seat 8. So let's see from the array. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the ones that we booked by default, and then 1, 2, 3 are the newly booked. So by doing it this way, you have booked your seats and you've met the requirement of this part. Okay, so we don't actually need this, so let's comment it out. So the next thing is to check if they are not available. Okay, and you know, we already have a variable that handles that for us. So, and that variable is seat available. Seat available. So, but in this case, we are checking if seat available. So the thing here is this: if this is false, by adding not here, it will become true. Okay, so let's go ahead, print. What do we print? We have to let the user know that we don't have available seats. We do not have available seats. Okay, so the question is to output a given message. So giving the number of seats left or house full. So if number available is equal to 0. Now remember that we said number available will tell us the available number of seats. Where are you? You see it here? It tells us the available number of seats. So if seat available is equal to 0, that means the seats are actually full. Yeah. So it's going to display house full. Okay, let's just do it accordingly. Yeah. So it's going to display house full. Else, it is going to tell us the available seat that the number of available seats that the user can book. It will say only this number of seats are left. Okay, so it will tell you the number of seats left. So that's basically it. All right, so I think we've solved this problem as it is. So all of these are acting as my comment, so I can moderate this a bit and make the comment a little finer. Like I used to say, you don't have to write the you don't have to use the entire question as the comment. So you could play around with this, just write short comments that will actually be useful. Okay, so I think we're done with this question basically. So I want to encourage you to practice. That's the only way to learn how to code. The only way to learn how to code is by coding. No shortcuts. So practice, and I'm sure you'll come out successful. Thank you all for watching the video. Please share, like, comment. Let me know if there's any particular area you want me to look at. I will try as much as I can to consider your request. Okay, share to your friends who need this video, please. It is important, so that you are not the only one to benefit from this wealth of knowledge. Okay, I'll see you guys again in the next video. Bye for now.